I have a question for you. Do you remember Tarzan? You know, he's the guy whose parents died. No, no, not him. No, not him. And he was adopted by animals. No, 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 not him. He was raised by a tribe of apes. Yeah, that's the one. That's him.
That's the end of your jungle adventures.
If you remember him, that's probably because of the Disney movie from 1999. You know, the Stone Age. To be fair though, there's more to his story than that movie. Actually, a lot more. He first appeared in a 1912 story called Tarzan of the Apes by Edgar Rice Burroughs.
Burrows.
That was a long time ago. The author, I'm not gonna try to say his name again,
Burrows.
continued his story for a long time after that, and it was a big success. But this is the one that excites me the most. Look at the cover. Even the cover is interesting, to say the least. If I could read, I would definitely give this a shot. It was rated 4,000 Goodreads, so I suppose it's not that bad.
Thank you.
It was later adapted as a motion picture in different formats, like silent films, live actions. The 90s were different, I guess. But today we're focusing on the first animated film by Disney. This movie was an introduction to a lot of us into Tarzan's universe, at least for my generation. You know you're old when you say shit like my generation. Man, for us, this movie was something else, something we have never really seen before. Its art style was more anime-like, but the story was deep and touching. The movie received a great feedback from the critics when it released. They were praising both the storytelling and the art style, which I completely agree with. It had a lot of lessons to teach under the surface, like man versus animal, bullying. I don't want to go too much into these since this is a game review after all. Go watch some iceberg videos if that's what you're here for. Anyway, the movie is still on over 7 points on IMDb. So I recommend you watch it because trust me, it aged really well and it can still make you laugh and cry. So why am I even talking about the movie when this video is about the Tarzan game? Thanks for asking. Well, the plot of the game is pretty much the same as the movie. Well, that might sound horrible at first, but don't worry, I will explain. The game itself released in the same year as the movie, 1999. Apparently it took only 3 months to make. That's pretty crazy, right? I mean, these days, you don't see games releasing that fast. Even after years of work, we're getting half-done games. I don't want to point fingers. Also, you might find it strange that they made a game based on an animated movie. In the 90s, studios releasing games based on movies or cartoons was actually quite common. We rarely get games like these in the 2020s, or if we do, well, they just suck. Again, don't want to point fingers. When Tarzan came out, it received a pretty decent feedback. It got 8 out of 10 by IGN. This is actually pretty awesome, especially compared to other film-based games like Hercules got 6 out of 10. Not good, not terrible. Tiger's Honey Hunt got 6.5 out of 10. Again, not terrible. Lion King got 4 out of 10. Well, that's terrible.
Go home and get the gun.
Yeah, so as you can see, Tarzan's whopping 8 is not that bad. The game was developed by Eurocom.
Eurocom Developments Limited entertainment software games.
Eurocom mostly worked on game ports and games based on licensed properties around that time. However, they also had some original games like 40 Wings, which is another one of my favorites, and we'll talk about it in another video. However, this was after Tarzan's success. So what I'm trying to say here is Eurocom was not an experienced game developer around that time, especially not in games like this one. We don't really know much about the development of the game. All I could find is that some content had to be cut due to time shortage, like levels which involved riding on top of birds, and levels that featured Tentor the elephant as a playable character. To be honest, I'm pretty mad for this. Just imagine how cool it would have been to play as Tentor. He's one of the coolest characters in the movie. Middle fingers to Disney for rushing them. The game later received a Gold Sales Award in the UK for selling more than 200,000 copies. That's not bad, I guess. But I don't really know if that's good or not. I will just say it's not bad. For me, Tarzan has an important meaning, because this was one of the first games I ever played on my PS1. I first found it on a demo disc, more precisely demo disc 51, which included some other crazy titles like Dino Crisis or Quake 2, but for some reason, I always kept coming back for Tarzan. So one of the main reasons I'm making this video is to rekindle my nostalgia, and the other one is I kind of feel like this game is way too underrated to not talk about it, and it deserves credit after all. After this long ass history lesson, I still feel like I haven't said much about the game that would make you play it. So why don't we talk about the story and the gameplay, you know, the important parts. To be honest, I can't really talk about the story without spoilers. So if you've been living under a rock for the last 24 years, you should probably stop watching now. But I will have a timestamp to avoid these spoilers, I promise.
I'm asking you as a friend.
It's a bit hard to talk about the story in this game because, as I said, it has the same plot as the movie. It follows the same timeline and it does most of its storytelling through cutscenes, which are also cutouts from, you guessed, the movie, just worse quality. I'm not gonna lie, this probably sounds a bit lazy, but this was quite common back then. And for some reason it has this strange, janky vibe, which is actually pretty cool. And I think it just works. Tarzan's story begins when his parents were murdered. Fun, right? Just the usual Disney characters stuff, I guess. It was Saber who killed him. He's a leopard and he's gonna be one of the main enemies in the game. Kayla finds Tarzan in a treehouse that his parents built, and this is where the story begins basically. Kayla takes Tarzan back to their camp and they will raise Tarzan as their own. He will essentially become a family member. Oh, I forgot to mention, Kayla is a gorilla and so is everyone else in their camp. So yeah, it's a bit complicated. Obviously not everyone is happy that Tarzan is there because, you know, he's a human. He doesn't look like the other gorillas. But really, I don't want to spoil everything for you. The game picks up a bit later than the movie. The first level we see Tarzan, he's only a child. He's about 7 or 8 years old, but he already knows a lot of things about the jungle. The first part of the game is pretty chill, actually. Tarzan is just a kid, having fun with the other animals, doing kid stuff, you know. As the story proceeds though, Tarzan grows to be a man. And with that comes a lot of responsibility, just like in real life. He has to protect his camp, his family, and so on. Also by time, other humans will arrive in the jungle. And with them comes Jane. She's the first woman that Tarzan has ever seen. What a Sigma. Jane separates from her group and Tarzan has to save her from the baboons. What an interesting turn. Jane shows Tarzan their camp, where he meets a lot of other humans, like Clayton, who is kind of a jerk. What should I say? He's a dickhead. But can I say that? I don't know. Tarzan will return to this camp multiple times, and he will spend time with Jane, and the others too. As time passes, Tarzan falls in love with Jane. However, she needs to go back to England, and she tries to convince Tarzan to come with her. And Tarzan tries to convince her to stay. Checkmate. Clayton offers a solution to Tarzan, but obviously he cannot be trusted. So he basically lies to Tarzan to keep him away from the gorilla's camp, so he can easily go in and kill them. What a nice guy. Anyway, this is Disney, so obviously there is a happy ending. And this is the story, on a high level, obviously. But how does this look in practice? Well, Tarzan is a platformer. That's it, thanks for watching. Bye. Okay, fine. I'm not gonna get away with this that easy. You probably already guessed, but the game is split into levels, just like literally every other game around that time. This is quite obvious, but to proceed to the next level, you have to complete the previous one. You can replay each level as many times as you want. There are 14 levels in total. And the main purpose of each level is to just basically complete it. And by completing, I mean reach the end and open Jane's umbrella, which doesn't really make sense because Tarzan didn't even know Jane when he was young. But whatever, let's not bring up logic in this game.
What?
Reaching that umbrella though is easier said than done, because you face a lot of other things during the level, like a lot of enemies that range from monkeys, crocodiles, rhinos, elephants, and whatever this thing is. But Tarzan is not unarmed, okay? He has his dagger and a lot of fruits. I don't know what types of fruits though, but there's the basic yellow one, the purple one which is stronger and can be thrown further. I just call this the sniper fruit. We also have the shotgun fruit, and last but not least, we have blue balls. Fruits are not only used as weapons. Tarzan can collect these to gain health or even increase his health pool. Even though Tarzan is a platformer, other than the usual jumping, ducking, climbing, hanging and swinging, there are some extra mechanics that we don't usually see, like the fruits or the stabbing, and you can also destroy shit if you feel like it. And there's more. Each level has collectibles. These are coins, drawing fragments, and of course letters, because no 90s game would be whole without collecting letters. And you probably already guessed that we are collecting the letters Tarzan. Creative, right? After each level you get a completion screen where you can see what you collected, and if you did good, you get a reward. For the letters, you get extra scenes from the movie. For coins, you don't really get anything, but they are required for the 100% completion. But after each 100 coins, you get an extra life. This is quite standard as well. And if you collected all the 4 fragments, you get a bonus level, which is actually pretty useful, because you can collect extra coins for extra lives, which you will see come in handy in the future. And I think this is pretty much the gameplay. In terms of technicality, most of the gameplay, as I mentioned, is a platformer in 2D. Well, not exactly. It's called 2.5D, because if you have a closer look you can see the background is actually in 2D, but the objects in the front are in 3D. This actually allows your character to move in 3D space, not only left, right, up and down, but this is always done with some interesting mechanic, like the one that you see now. You have to move to the right and then back to the left to access that little path there. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of this. I feel like it's a bit confusing sometimes, but it's definitely a fascinating solution, and I guess it adds some extra to the game. For a game that released in 1999, this was not something new. There were already a lot of fully 3D games, so this was not really a technical innovation, but it looks great, so who cares? Okay, time to talk about the elephant in the room. There are some fully 3D levels in this game, which I don't really have a problem with, well, as a concept, but it is clear that the game engine was not designed to handle these levels mainly. Controlling your character on these levels can be really nightmarish, and it's really hard to see the distance between you and some kind of object or an enemy, which for me made these levels a bit frustrating, and most of them are really short as well, so these are just simply not my favorites. I feel like it is important that we talk about the level design as well in this game, because in one word, it's superb. Every level has some hidden areas that you need to find, some places that you need some kind of trick or finesse to get to. At some points I had a strange vibe that I'm actually playing something more complex, like Dark Souls or Crash Bandicoot, with its hidden passes and multi-layer levels. Okay, not that complex, but I still feel like the level design definitely deserves praise. I briefly touched on the 100% completion. To complete the level to 100%, you need to collect all the coins, all the fragments, and all the letters. I did this as a challenge on stream, and let me tell you, it was hell. I truly don't recommend trying this. But why is that, you may ask? Well, because Tarzan is hard. No, not like that. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Completing the game at a bare minimum is quite easy. The levels are straightforward and can be completed in a couple tries if you don't want to collect everything. However, if you do want to collect letters, fragments, or God forbid all the coins, that's the real rocky road. Okay, so why is Tarzan hard? Maybe unfair is the right expression here. Let me give you an example. The first level where Tarzan is grown up, called Coming of Age. It's not an easy level, so let's say you only have one life left and you're almost finished with it. But then comes the icing on the cake, the sliding section. Oh god, this gives me PTSD. So as I said, if you're aiming for 100% completion, you need to collect all the coins. Well, doing that on the first try in the sliding part is actually impossible, unless you're some kind of demigod. Because of the camera angle, you just simply cannot see where the coins are coming from. So let's say you missed a coin, or two, and just want to retry this section. Well, you just cannot. The only way to retry it is to die, but since you only have one life left, this is clearly not possible. So you either die and get a game over and try the whole level again, or just simply quit to the main menu and try the level you guessed all over again. Alright, sorry for this little detour, but you can tell this left me with some bad memories. Finally, it's time to talk about my favorite part, music and sounds. I cannot emphasize this enough, but the sound and music in Tarzan is absolutely fantastic. I can't believe I have to say this again, but the music is also from the movie. But this is fine though, because the movie had a brilliant soundtrack, and I think it just matches the game perfectly. Even some of the Phil Collins songs are included. Most of the songs are included without the actual singing though, but that's not a problem at all, because even just hearing these familiar tunes is just heartwarming. Just perfect. I can't really say anything other than how great it is. Each level has a theme song basically, which plays throughout, and it is matched perfectly. Like in the beginning when Tarzan is younger, we get these cartoonish, childish sounds. And as he grows up and the story becomes darker and more serious, we get darker tunes throughout the level, and sometimes even the lack of music is a very powerful tool as well. What about the sounds though? I think the sounds are very well designed too. They manage to reproduce the jungle ambience really well. Like you can constantly hear birds, animals in the background. These sounds create a great atmosphere, and you can actually feel like you're in the jungle with all these creatures surrounding you, like cracking of tree branches, and the danger around every corner is just perfect. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, it can be a bit repetitive after a while, but man, what were you expecting? We're still in the 90s. Anyway, in one sentence, music and sounds, amazing. 10 out of 10. Just listen to this clip and tell me this is not the best jungle ambience you have ever heard. I think the only complaint I have is the sounds that Tarzan makes when he jumps or basically does anything. This can be pretty annoying on the long run, but I guess this is something I can live with, and I'm pretty sure everyone else can. It's just something where less would have been more, I guess. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say about this game. So, what is the final verdict here? Is it still a viable game? Is it something that should be thrown in the bin? I feel like Tarzan is a really good game, and it can still entertain us for a couple hours. Obviously it didn't age as well as the movie, and you can feel some jankiness and clunkiness in it, but even if you put down your nostalgia glasses, It's a fun game to play, and it's not long either, so I would say give it a shot. But even if you feel like this game is not for you, I would still say the movie is something that everyone has to see at least once. So promise me you will give the movie a go, and you might get into the game as well. Tarzan will always be a blast for me, because obviously I'm biased. I have a long history with Tarzan, and this is never going to change.
I'm asking you as a friend.
There is one more thing we need to talk about though, and that's the future of Tarzan. You probably already heard, but the franchise was acquired by Sony. So Tarzan has a future, and it might be closer than you think. But what exactly led to this point? The reason I asked if you remember Tarzan in the beginning is because he's kind of been lost, right? There were tries to reboot the franchise, there were TV shows, new games, but they just simply couldn't repeat the success. And I'm hopeful that Sony will do something great. I'm hopeful about Tarzan's future. Thanks for watching this 20-minute rambling about an old game. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know in the comments below. And if you didn't, just let me know why. Feedback is always appreciated. I do stream similar content on Twitch regularly. Say hello there as well if you feel like. And one final advice before I go, for the folks out there. If you want to jump on a rhino, always jump on its back, but never its ass. Because the ass can hurt you. It's dangerous. Have a good day.